Here's my first eBay purchase of 2026. It was sold as 1915 Hong Kong Scout album and photograph with highly rare in capital letters. I've got my doubts about that title though, so let's see what we can find out. Starting with, who are we looking at? Well, it clearly isn't just Scouts, but I can see three up at the back here. I believe the little stars show how long they've been the Scouts for. 3 years for this one and 2 years for this. And they also got white stripes on their left pocket. The two stripes show you're a patrol leader, while one stripe is the lower rank, a patrol seconder. We've also got a long line of Brownies, and down at the front we've got quite a group of Cub Scouts. Well, when I was a Cub Scout in the 1970s, that's what we were called. But back when this photo was taken, they were called Wolf Cubs. You can see a couple of them have got the Wolf Cub badges on their shirts here. In the centre, we've got 6 adults. And the 2 men are both in uniform and look to belong to the British Army. I can't see any rank on the man on the right, but he is clearly wearing medal ribbons. The man on the left, he's in a smarter uniform altogether. And if we look at his shoulder, we can see 1, 2, 3 bumps on his shoulder there. And I think that means he's a captain in the army. So he's got the 3 stars that show he's a captain. The lady on the left has got a quite distinctive hat with one side of it turned up. And she's also wearing a dark tie. Now I've seen that style before in a photo on Gulo from 1936. The lady in white is Alvina Laevetsky, and she was the leader of the Brownies pack at St Andrew's Church in Kowloon. A Brownies leader was called Brown Owl, so maybe this lady is the Brown Owl for the Brownies standing behind her. What was the event? Well, based on the number of children who aren't wearing any uniform, I'd say this isn't specifically about Scouts or Guides. Instead, something like a school group photo or possibly a church group. Next, can we work out when the photo was taken? Well, even before I received it, I had my doubts it was taken in 1915, and that was just looking at the girls' hairdos here. This is more like a 1920s bob style than the styles we'd see in the 1910s. Anyway, the Brownies are going to help give us an answer. If you've got the first of my books, you'll remember that we looked at another photo of Brownies, and we discovered that Brownies first appear in Hong Kong in the early 1920s. However, I'm not sure yet if our main photo was taken in Hong Kong, so we need other clues. The Brownies will still be of help though, because we can take a look at their uniforms. So after a girl joins the Brownies, she must make the Brownie promise, which back in the 1920s would have been, I promise to do my best, to do my duty to God and to the King, and to keep the law of the Brownie pack, to help other people every day, especially those at home. And then after doing that, she'd receive her tenderfoot badge or promise badge that was pinned onto the scarf. You can see several examples here. That badge went through several revisions in the early years, and this style, where the Brownie man is fixed to a broad bar, this was introduced in 1921, so our photo can't have been taken any earlier than that. After joining the Brownies, the girls would start working towards their second-class badge or golden bar, and the girl here, she's already past that. She's wearing her golden bar badge, and she has a star that shows she's been a Brownie for 1 year. Over on the left, we've got a couple of more senior girls. You can see they've got 2 of the service stars, so they've been Brownies for 2 years, and they're also wearing the golden hand badge. That's the one at the top here, and that shows they've passed the much harder first class tests. Now at some point after this photo was taken, the golden bar and the golden hand badges were redesigned, and the words Girl Guides were added at the bottom. The sources I've read online disagree on when that change happened, but if we turn back to the 1936 photo, we can see that the badge here already has that extra text at the bottom. It's not clear enough to see the actual letters, but this is the Girl Guides underneath the the golden bar. The Scouts can help us too. If we look at the Scouts, and especially the scarves, can you see how they're tied with just a thick knot? It's the same for the wolf cubs as well, tied with a thick knot around the neck. When I was a Cub Scout in the 1970s, we used a woggle instead. It was a blue plastic ring in my case, and we'd just thread the ends of the scarf through the ring and then pull it tight. Now, the woggle was introduced in the UK in the mid-1920s, and though I don't know when Hong Kong Scouts first started using them, we can look at photos we have on Gulo to get an idea. These are all the photos we have of the different Scouts, and include this one taken in 1922, where you can see the boys are wearing their scarf in a similar style, so the big knot around the neck. But this one from 1935, here we've got that pinched look where the scarf runs through the woggle, so definitely in use by 1935. Putting these all together then, the picture must have been taken after 1921, when the Promise badges first appear, but no later than the mid-1930s, when the Brownies badge had the Girl Guides text and the Scouts were wearing woggles. Now, if you've got any photos of Brownies or Cubs or Scouts taken in Hong Kong in the 1920s or 30s, please could you get in touch via the comments. I'd love to see them, and I hope they can help us to narrow down that date range. Finally, if the eBay seller got the date wrong, were they right about the location? Was this photo really taken in Hong Kong? Well, I think it was, and that's based on the number of pith helmets or sun hats in the photo. There's lots of them along the front row here. They are a common sight in photos of children in Hong Kong from this time, but are rarely seen in photos from Britain. Looking at the two men in uniform, I wonder if it's a photo of the Garrison School in Hong Kong. Here's a government report from 1923 showing they had Scouts, Guides, Wolf Cubs and Brownies. I also noticed that the report was written by a Captain A.E. Watts, the Command Education Officer. I wonder if that's our officer in the main photo. In summary, then, I believe this photo was taken in Hong Kong in the 1920s or possibly early 1930s, and maybe at the Garrison School. Now, I'm hoping you can help with the detective work to confirm or deny this. So over on the Gulo website, I've uploaded a high-resolution copy of this photo. To explore the details, you'll want to click on the zoom, and then you can use the plus to zoom in. You can drag it around with your mouse, and it's often easier if you click the full screen here, just to get a large view to work with. So if we've got any botanists watching, can you tell me anything about these plants? You know, are they plants that we see commonly in Hong Kong? Or just as useful, do we never see them in Hong Kong? Answers to either of those questions will be helpful. And then if you've got any relatives who were children in Hong Kong in the 1920s or 1930s, could you take a look and let us know if you can spot them? I've put little labels on so you can identify the people. It'd be great to get confirmation that someone in these photos was definitely in Hong Kong at this time. Before I finish, just to note that the annual education reports are a good source of information about the early years of Scouts and Guides in Hong Kong, and reading them introduced several setbacks the early Scouts faced that I hadn't heard of before. First, the report from 1914 says, "The St. Joseph Scouts, established last year, have continued to flourish, although the numbers were reduced in consequence of the rule that Baden-Powell troops should consist of British subjects only." Now, I'd never heard of that rule before. I wonder how long it lasted for. And in any case, during the rest of the First World War, boys in Hong Kong were directed towards the Cadet Corps, not the Scouts, no doubt with the goal of developing future soldiers. It's only after the end of the war that Scouting really takes off in Hong Kong. Well, that wraps up this latest video. I hope you found it interesting, and thank you very much for watching.